Previously on the SoJo Files. Eva's version of events start when Jordan arrives at the house. Her version of events changes within minutes by the time that officers and first responders arrive on the scene.
No.
Did you wake up?
Not really. Well, I didn't really wake up till after he was gone. And then the lady will be here in 15 minutes, and like that, I said, are you coming here before you go take him home? I wanted him to. I picked her up, and I was frantically running. Like, I didn't know what to do. I can't remember what arm, but it was stiff. And I knew that the rest of her body wasn't like that. I was doing something, I can't remember what I was doing, but I was walking towards the bedroom, and I realized this on my shoulder. And I told him that, I understand that, but I was asleep. How do I know what happens whenever I'm
He said he was asleep. So which one?
We were both sleeping. It's 1 o'clock in the morning. We were sleeping.
On the last 2 episodes, we have been going over all of the many different versions of events that Eva Millard told for what occurred on November 8th, 2018. And we listened to all of the different things that she had to say while she was on the scene that day, as well as all the many different things that she told officers while she was being interrogated at the Van Buren, Arkansas Police Department. But on part 3, we're going to be listening to all of the different things that she said for November 8th, 2018, while she was talking to Deb Shreeve, Jordan's mother, and she thought that no one else would ever hear.
And then Olivia, I don't even remember if she cried. I just remember a sound. And I got up and I put her beside me. And she laid there for about 5 minutes and she kept saying no. Just saying no. She wasn't whining or nothing. But Jordan, he wasn't mad. He just said, do I need to go to the other room because I'm tired? And I was like, no, we will. Because I thought he was mad at me for having her in bed. And actually, that's not the truth. I thought he was mad at me because I didn't want to have sex. Because I was sick. I didn't feel good. But I don't know, stupid me. I don't even know why.
I don't know why you think that when he just said I wanted to sleep.
I don't even know why I thought that. I was tired. I was, just woke up. I didn't know.
Right off the bat, she contradicts herself by saying that Jordan wasn't mad or anything, and then immediately turns around and says, I thought that he was mad. And then she doesn't have a reason for why she thinks that he's mad, so she says that she thought he was mad because he wanted to have sex, despite the fact that she's already said that he was tired and wanting to go to sleep, so that makes no sense. And then when Deb points that out, because obviously it makes no sense, she even admits, yeah, I don't know why I thought that.
Well, I thought he was mad at me. So what I done was, I laid Olivia on her pillow. I'll never forget it because it was the last moment I had with her. I laid her on her pillow, she looked up at me, she was happy, she didn't cry. And her bottle was half empty. So I went and I filled up her bottle and I put her blanket on her and tucked her in and I kissed her on the forehead and turned out the light and crawled back in bed with Jordan.
In the current version that Eva is telling, she states that she got up and put Olivia back in the pack and play and that she noticed that her bottle was half empty. So she went to refill her bottle and then she tucked her into bed and kissed her on the forehead, and then she herself went back to bed. Now, we know from the last 2 episodes that sometimes her getting Olivia a bottle of milk is featured in her story, and sometimes it's not. I do want to note that she just admitted that she herself tucked Olivia into bed, and that matters because it comes back into play later on.
And then I was a little upset, and I was like crying. I don't know what it was. I don't know if it was just hormones or whatever, but I thought he was mad at me. And he said, why are you crying? And I was like, because I think you're mad at me. And then I told him why, and he's like, no, babe. He's like, I was just tired. And then he put his arm around me, and I fell asleep. And that's everything until the morning time. He woke me up in the morning time. He told me, I'm going to get Billy real quick. I should be gone about an hour and a half, whatever, because they were waiting on a lady, so they didn't know how long they would really be gone. So he kissed me goodbye, and he walked out of the room. He even forgot his wallet. He just grabbed the cash that was in the cup that was on the desk. And he walked out, and I got up and I went pee, and this is about 30 minutes after he left. I got up and I went pee, and I laid back in bed, and I checked Facebook.
Notice that in this version of her story, she tells Deb that she got up and used the restroom and checked Facebook 30 minutes after Jordan left. In previous versions, she said that she did that right when he left, which never made any sense. And we know for a fact that she didn't do it right when he left. And we also know for a fact, because of her cell phone records, that she didn't do it 30 minutes after he left either. She did it an hour or so after he left. But in this version of events, she is saying that she got up and did all of that 30 minutes after Jordan left.
Then I seen pictures of Olivia, because it was around her birthday, and it was showing her foot was like this big, and Jose was kissing the tip of her foot. And then there was another picture, so I screenshotted them, and I sent them to Jordan, and I sent them to Jose. I sent one to Jordan, and I said, Jordan, I know Jose's in this picture, but trust me, that's not what I'm looking at. I'm looking at how small my baby was at this time. She was so cute and so freaking tiny, it was insane. And I told him, look how much she's grown since this day. And I sent Jose the same thing. Look how much our baby's grown. And, Jordan texted me, and he was like, don't worry about it. He was like, I understand. You're just showing me how small she was. I thought he would be upset because I was sending a picture of Jose. But I texted him, I said, where are you at? And how long do you think you're going to be gone? He said, I'm sitting here at Long John Silver's. He said, I don't know how long I'm going to be gone because this lady hasn't came yet. And I was like, okay. I was like, but can you come here first? With the pills or whatever, so I wasn't sick. And he was like, of course. I was planning. I'm just telling you what I said. I don't know if it's word for word, but I know it's a roundabout. And he said, of course, I'm coming home first, and then I'll take Billy home. And he came home, went straight to the bathroom because that woke me up. The light woke me up. And of course, he was banging shit around.
This piece of her story, I think, is very important to point out. Throughout the entirety of her many different versions of this story, she has stated that she woke up that morning to Jordan standing next to her in bed, and she has claimed numerous times that she is such a heavy sleeper. But here, this is the first and only time that Eva states that she woke up due to Jordan simply turning the light in the bathroom on.
And that's when I found her. I don't know why.
This part of Eva's story changes continuously. No surprise here that it's changed again. But in this version, she states that Jordan turning the bathroom light on is what woke her up, and that in that moment she found Olivia. Now, if you're keeping notes, you will notice that this is very different from previous versions of this story that she's told in the past.
I went and checked on her. I'll never understand why. But
Why wouldn't you check on it?
I know, but I think I realized the time. Because it was so dark in my room. It was still like it was early in the morning. You know what I mean? So it was so dark in my room, I was like, no, that's not right. I was like, it's got to be later than that. So when I looked at my clock, I want to say it was about 11:30 or 12:30. Don't quote me because I'm not for sure.
That slip up that Eva Millard just made is probably the most crucial slip up that she had throughout the entirety of all the many different versions of this story that she's told. Let me explain the significance of that slip up. You heard Eva say that she checked the clock. which is something that she denied to everyone, but now she admits that she checked the clock and she says 11:30, but don't quote me, it might have been 12:30. Immediately, no. We know for a fact that 12:30 absolutely is not true, does not work, false information, because we know when Jordan called 911 and we know when officers arrived on the scene. So 12:30 is absolutely not true, and we can prove that for a fact. So that leaves us with her 11:30 time frame that she says. The thing that I find so intriguing about her saying 11:30 in the morning is because we know that her text messages that morning abruptly stop at 11:20 a.m. And we also know for a fact that Jordan did not come back home for at least another 45 minutes.
And I don't know if I said it out loud, but why would she still be asleep this long? You know? And of course I did my pill, and that's whenever I said, you know, why is Olivia still asleep this late? That's whenever I went over.
Now, only moments ago did she say that the light coming on in the bathroom is what woke her up, and she then found Olivia. And just moments later, she's now saying that she went to do her pill in the bathroom, and that's when she started questioning why Olivia wasn't up, and that's when she found her. So she's already changed her version of events for how she found her in less than 1 minute.
And I pulled the blanket off of her because the blanket was over her head. And I didn't tell the police that part because I didn't know if Jordan done it. I didn't know if, you know, I didn't want to make him look bad. I don't know what I was thinking. First of all, I forgot. But after I got here, I remembered.
Earlier on in this episode, I made sure to point out that Eva mentions that she tucked Olivia in with a blanket and a fresh bottle of milk. And I made sure to point that out because I said it was going to come back into play later. Well, here it is coming back into play because now she's stating that Olivia was tucked in, and because she was tucked in with the blanket, she somehow was under the impression that that meant that Jordan must have checked on Olivia, even though she's already admitted that she is the one that tucked her in with the blanket.
But I don't want to tell the police that, especially now, you know, because Jordan says he didn't check on her. Somebody did, you know what I mean? So I don't want to, I don't know, but I never told the police that because I forgot about it.
Jim talked to Jordan that morning too.
Yeah, but the thing is whenever I looked down at her dead, just something wasn't right. Before I touched her, before anything, I screamed. I mean, it was like a death scream, like I'd just been stabbed in the chest or something. And I just screamed Jordan's name. And then as Jordan was coming, I leaned over and I put this part of my hand under her shoulder, and this part was wrapped around her. It was like cupped around her thing. And I like did this with my fingers, and her body flopped. It just flopped. It wasn't like, you know, when you move a baby while they're sleeping, they either move or they wake up. But she didn't. She didn't move at all. So I told Jordan, there's really something wrong. And he said, that's when he put his hand on her and he pushed me because I was screaming and I was freaking out. And I don't think he meant to push me as hard as he did. He was just trying to get me out of the way so he could see what was going on. And I didn't tell the police that either.
What, did he push you?
Yeah, just said that somehow I ended up on the floor. I think I tripped. I didn't want him to look bad.
It wasn't even looking bad. He's just getting you out of the way so you can see the baby.
I know, but I made for sure not to say he pushed me. But I don't even think he pushed me. I think he was just, you know, moving me, and I fell. And I fell in a laundry basket, so it wasn't like I fell. But he put his hand like this on her chest.
His whole hand.
And he felt a heartbeat.
Eva flip-flops a lot right there, as you just heard, about how she ended up on the ground. She says that Jordan shoved her and she fell. Well, maybe he was just trying to nudge her out of the way and she herself slipped. And for whatever reason, it doesn't even matter. Either way, we know that in previous versions of this story, Eva has stated that she was on the ground for whatever reason and could not remember why. But now, she is claiming that this is the reason for why she was on the floor. And I'm going to point out, for the sake of facts and just keeping everything in line, because there is a lot of fuckery going on with these 3 episodes, actually with this whole case in general. But I'm going to point out that Jordan claims that this never happened, and I believe him because he has a track record of telling the truth. And it is all panned out that he happens to be the only one telling the fucking truth in this whole case. So Jordan only checked Olivia's pulse one time in the living room by the couch. So just to point that out, to help us try to keep all of this crazy in the best order that we can, she claims that he shoved her out of the way. That's her reasoning for why she was on the floor, and that he checked the pulse back there and then later checked it in front of the couch. But Jordan says that is false, and I stand by Jordan's side of events because he's the only one that's been telling the truth, and the only one that everything he's ever said has been proven to be factually true.
He said, babe, calm down. Don't wake her up, because there is a heartbeat. I feel it. And I kept telling him, no, Jordan. No, there's something wrong. No, please call 911. And at that time, that was before I picked her up. And I kept repeating, just call 911, call 911. And he said, no, there's nothing wrong with her. You're just overreacting, because I've done that 1,000 times.
I know you have.
And I'm serious. It's not something to take lightly, because I have. And that's what I told them. I said, I've sat there and I thought there was something wrong with her so many times. And the reason why is because I'm terrified of something was going to happen to her. Because she wasn't supposed to make it in the first place. So it made it my mission to keep her alive.
I don't know about y'all, but it's my mission to keep all my animals alive, and I'm thinking it's probably all parents' number one mission to keep their kids alive, but I digress.
And so he kept telling me, babe, she's okay, there's a heartbeat, just wait for her to wake up. And I just wouldn't believe him. I just said, no, you need to call 911, and he was still trying. He would just calm down, and that's when I picked her up. And then, I don't know what I was doing. I laid her on the floor on her back, and I was trying to do CPR.
In previous versions of this story, and I know y'all, there's been a ton and it's a lot to keep up with, but in previous versions of this story, Eva has admitted that she was trying to do CPR or whatever, but now this is the first time that Eva has claimed that she actually placed Olivia on the floor and attempted to do CPR.
I don't know how to do CPR. And Jordan was like, babe, stop. You're going to hurt her. You know, he's still thinking she has a heartbeat. And he's thinking I'm going to hurt her because I was trying to do CPR. I didn't know how to do it. Well, then I was like, screw that, you know, because I thought I was hurting her because I don't know how to do it.
So she makes fun of Jordan for allegedly being concerned that her attempting CPR on Olivia on the floor was hurting her, to now she maybe is worried that she's possibly hurting her, so she's going to stop doing CPR.
So I picked her up, and that's when I picked her up like this. In some way, I don't know, I remember walking around frantically. I don't know if I was running or whatever. Jordan says I was. But I walked to the living room, and I was holding her like this still. And I told Jordan, that's when I made him call 911. I said, babe, please call 911 because there's really something wrong. So that's when he called 911, when I had her like this. And he said, trying to tell him what was going on or whatever. Well, then I laid her down. And I think I said something I don't know. Anyways, I turned to walk back to the bedroom so I could get a mental picture of what happened, if I could try to explain it to myself. And then I was like, remember before you walked down to the hallways, right where our couches were, this thing that was up against the wall? I was about to that thing, so it's like a few feet away. And I felt the liquid on my shoulder.
In previous versions of this story, she states that when she's walking back to the bedroom, that's when she noticed the blood on her shirt. Though in previous versions before that, she says that she noticed the blood on Olivia before she noticed it on her shirt. I know it's neither here nor there, but now she claims that it's not blood that she noticed, it was just the fact that her shirt was wet.
And I screamed at him. I said, turn her over. I was like, maybe she's choking, turn her over. So he says, let me call you back. And then he starts patting her on the back. And then, of course, he wasn't doing it hard enough. So I came over there and I was hitting her harder. That was before I knew her neck was broken. So I was hitting her really hard, not really, really hard, but trying to get whatever was in her throat out. And I was like, no, Jordan, you gotta call 911 again. Just call 911 and don't hang up this time. And then he was like, okay, well, just flip her over so he could see her. Well, then I flipped her back over for him, and he done the thing.
Cannot
the thing.
do that.
I really think he used his thumb. But he was like, she has a heartbeat. Why are you freaking out so bad? And I said, look, Jordan, there's blood. Because before that time, there was no blood.
In previous versions, Jordan was the one that was doing the flipping over according to Eva. Now Eva's the one that's doing the flipping over, and that thing is in reference to Jordan checking Olivia's pulse, and she's stating that he used his thumb to check for her pulse. And she's also stating that there was no blood before then. However, we know that she's already mentioned that her shirt was wet, and she's already mentioned in previous stories that she noticed blood before this happened.
But at this time, it was coming out of her nose, her mouth, and her ear. And I told him, I was like, there's blood. Where is the fucking blood coming from? Because she had no abrasion. She had nothing, nothing. And so he did call 911 that time. And I picked her back up, and that's when I felt her neck. And I was telling him, it's broken. I think her neck's broken. And he said, it is.
The thing to note about this segment of this version of her story of events is that she made sure to incorporate that Jordan said it is. And the reason that she's doing that is because she got that information from Detective Marsh during interrogations. He plays the 911 phone calls for her, and you can hear it is being said on the 911 calls, and he asked her about that. So I think it's interesting that she is now using the information that police provided to her during interrogations and incorporating that into her current version of events.
And I'll never forget it because that's whenever I figured out what was wrong. And so he called, and then
He was already on the phone to them because they said he said that.
yeah, they had just picked up whenever he said it is.
Which made them think that he was saying that he already knew that it was.
Yeah, but it's not. That's not how it happened. He was asking me a question. It wasn't like, I don't know. I don't even know why you would say it is unless it's a question. But that's when the telephone call started. It's right after he said it is. So they didn't even hear what I said. They only heard it is. And then, so he called him, told him where we were at, blah, blah, blah. And then I was like, I had her in my arms and he couldn't see her face. And he said that's why he called him again, because he seen her lips were.
I'm going to point out here that for the first time ever, Eva states that Jordan called 911 for the second time because he allegedly noticed that her lips were a different color. And I'm going to point out that by this point, he's already placed both of his 911 calls. Eva herself, in this version of events, has already stated that Jordan has already placed both 911 calls.
They wasn't her color pink. Like, my lips are really bright, and so are hers, and oddly so are Peyton's. So, but hers had a purple tint to them, like she suffocated or something. And so he said that's why he called 911 the second time. It wasn't because of me. He said he seen her lips. He was like, but I still felt the heartbeat. So, he thought I was really just dragging it all out of proportion.
Oh, so many
But
mistakes.
seriously, Deb, that's what I told the lawyer. That's what I told the police. But I didn't give the police the timeline like that. I was
didn't
just
know.
answering questions.
Right.
But that lady, she wanted a timeline. She wanted me to start from the day before. And after I told the lady, Jordan left. I was like, he had people in his car he needed to take home. My fault again. If he would have just took him home first and came back, it would have probably been better.
Yeah, it
But I
was.
said he had to take the family home at that point.
Obviously, it would have been better if Jordan had not left to take Billy Freeman and his family home, because clearly that became a point of contention. However, the only reason that he was in that position in the first place is because Eva insisted that he come home and bring her drugs before taking Billy home, which would have only added a few additional minutes to her waiting.
In the police office, I didn't know about him stopping to talk to Pam until they told me. Now, at this office, I knew to say that. But at the police office, all I knew was he was taking Billy home. I didn't know he stopped to talk to Pam because I didn't know Pam called. So that is a lie. I don't know because I didn't know. They told me that. And that's what I told
Well,
them.
because he told them.
Yeah, and it's on his phone records, and they had already called Pam. And I said, look, that's when they told me to throw my ring away. They said, if my baby was laying there dead, and my husband of 2 days left me and my daughter to go and talk to his ex-wife while you're going through the hardest moment of your life, and blah, blah, blah. I was like, you know what? You don't know Jordan like I do. Because they don't. All they know is the drug part of Jordan. I was like, he has to talk to Pam away from me because I'm not a nice person when it comes to her. I was like, and you're not going to sit here and twist that all the way around and make him look bad and make me mad at him because he talked to his ex-wife. I was like, because he has a daughter with her. So of course he's going to stop and talk. Well, your baby was dead, so why would he stop and talk? Why wouldn't he rush back to you? And then he said, well, better yet, why did he leave, period? I was like, because he didn't think she was dead. He thought she had a heartbeat the whole time. I'm pretty sure, because I didn't know he thought he was going to go to the hospital. I said, I'm pretty sure he thought when he got home he was going to grab some clothes and go straight to the hospital. And I said it just like Jordan said it, and I didn't even know. You know what I mean? I just said, I'm pretty sure that's what he was thinking, because the whole time he was trying to calm me down because he thought she had a heartbeat. And I said it myself. I think he was feeling his own heartbeat. But he thought,
It's adrenaline.
regardless of everything else, he thought she was alive. He thought she was just hurt. I was like, the only person that knew she was dead was me. Because he only held her for half a second.
Throughout the entire time that Eva Millard is speaking with officers from the Van Buren, Arkansas Police Department, she makes it seem as if Jordan is the one that is doing all the holding and the touching and the flipping of Olivia. But here you just heard her say that she was the only one that knew that Olivia was dead because Jordan had only held her for 2 seconds and she was the one that was holding her, which is the complete opposite of every story she ever told to the Van Buren, Arkansas Police Department.
You know, he did for only like 2.2 seconds and then later back down because I think it scared him. And that's honest. And then I told the prosecutor or whoever I was talking to.
I love that line. And let me tell you why. She says, I told the prosecutor or whomever I was talking to. Y'all know that Eva Millard knows the difference between an officer and a prosecutor. I think it's very clear who's an officer. They're in uniform, and the ones that aren't in uniform still have badges on and still announce themselves as officers. And she very well knows who is an officer. But she says, I told the prosecutor. And that is so interesting to me because though there is no record, note, or mention of Eva Millard ever talking to prosecutors, we know from the dash cam footage from Officer DeCruz's cop car, and we know from the time on the transcript for Eva Millard's interrogation that there's at least an hour of unaccounted for time that Eva Millard is still on the scene before she shows up at the Van Buren, Arkansas Police Department in her interrogation tapes. And we know for a fact that there were several prosecutors from the Crawford County Prosecuting Attorney's Office that were on scene November 8th, 2018. And so I think it's really interesting that she says, I told the prosecutor, because I find it really hard to believe that Eva Millard would get confused between a prosecutor and an officer.
I was like, honestly, they asked Jordan, and this is what pissed me off, and that's what I told the lady, and I was bawling when I told her this. I said, they asked Jordan if he wanted to go to the police station. You know, they gave him that opportunity. They gave him the opportunity to say no, the opportunity to say yes. But me, they stuck me in the back of a police car for 3 hours, 3 or 4 hours, just sitting there, hyperventilating, because that's what I was doing. I couldn't breathe in that car. And I was like, I begged them to open the window. They opened the window for like 2 seconds and then closed it because they were afraid I was going to talk to somebody through the window. And I was like,
Where was Jim?
I was in a car like this in front of the driveway. Jim was in the car directly like this.
How long was he there?
I'll never forget it because he was laying there like that.
For 6 hours?
Yeah, he was in that car the whole time they were there. And then they just let him out and go back in the house. They took me and George to the police station.
And then they
And I
lied.
told the lady, I said, they didn't give me that choice. Because if they would have given me that choice, I felt like I was arrested from the start. Something wrong with her neck, and he was asking me. It is, like, because I thought her neck was broken.
Well,
And he said, it is. That was the beginning of the conversation on the phone,
Yeah.
and that's what they
but
wanted
he's
to know.
he's saying it is, like it is.
Yeah, he was
Yeah.
asking me a question, but like they were trying to flip it around and make it something it wasn't.
Like what?
And
Like he
that-
was saying that it is broken.
Yeah, but
I mean-
I don't know.
Oh.
But Jordan was trying to tell me, babe, they will flip that phone conversation all the way around.
What do
Because
you
it
mean?
made me nervous because he said, let me call you back. Most people wouldn't have said, let me call you back.
In this clip, she is bringing up the mention of it is again, but I find it more interesting that she made sure to point out that it made her nervous that Jordan called 911 and hung up. Why would that make someone nervous?
But Jordan was trying to unchoke her. Because I was freaking out saying, well, what if she's choking? Because that stuff was on my shoulder. I didn't know. So
Right.
I started, Jordan started kind of patting her on the back. Well, I got over there and I was hitting her a little harder because I wanted it out of her throat, whatever it was. And that was the blood on the couch that they
Yeah.
cut off the couch. But that's what I don't understand. I gave them step per step what happened. My story's been the same since
Right.
the beginning, and so is Jordan's. And when I got home,
That might be the biggest lie that she's told so far because she can't tell the same story twice, which is evident by the fact that this was only supposed to be a 1-part additional episode that turned into a 3-part episode because she has told so many different stories.
Jordan's story better than me. I was sitting right next to it.
This is a short but noteworthy nonetheless clip because she states, "Nobody knows Jordan's story better than me. I was standing right next to him." Although, the entire time that she is at the police department, she is telling officers that she has no idea if he really called 911 or not. And she is confused about who did what. But if you were standing right next to him, I think that would be something that you would know. And she does know because she was standing right next to him.
I was saying that Jordan was crushing the pill when I found Olivia. And when I yelled at him, he ran out. And he told me that she was fine, and that was when he felt her heartbeat. And that's when I did my pill. And I guess Jordan thought that I didn't. I don't think he did his because I scared him. And he was like, Eva, go get that before the ambulances get here. And I was like, Jordan, I did mine a long time ago. It was his. And I always felt guilty. Like, even though I kind of knew something was wrong, I still V-line toward that pill. That's what I was telling you. I didn't.
The important thing to note from that clip is that Eva admits that she knew something was wrong before she ever did her drugs, which means that she knew Olivia was dead before Jordan ever got home.
Oh, you already knew about the baby.
No, I didn't know at that point that she was dead. I was under the impression something was wrong, but Jordan was telling me, that was before I picked her up. Jordan was telling me she had a heartbeat.
I don't even think that it's necessary for me to point out how quickly Eva Millard changed her story when Deb pointed out that it made absolutely zero sense. So I'm not going to dissect that one because that is just self-explanatory. So moving on.
And when he was, shush, you talk too much, Jordan. But that's what he was feeling for a heartbeat whenever he told me she was fine. That's what, right?
Oh, that's what he did, the heartbeat.
He did it twice. He says he only did it once. He did it twice. He did it before I ever picked her up. He said, she's fine. And her stomach, that's whenever we realized her stomach was warm. And
that's when we realized. I'm not sure why everything is we. How can we realize that her stomach was still warm if you're the one that's touching her that realized it was warm? That's you. That story should be singular. It should not just all of a sudden turn into a plural story there. There's not two people that discovered that. It's one person that discovered it and is assuming that the second person... I'm so sick of this bitch and everything that she says being we, and even the officers attributed everything she said to being a group effort when it wasn't.
And then he did it on the couch too because I kept yelling at him something was wrong. That was before I seen the blood. And while I was holding her, something. But she had a heartbeat to him. It was like right when we found her.
Here we go again with the we. There is no we. That's when we found her. No. That's when Eva Millard, quote unquote, found Olivia.
Jordan was crushing her, and I felt like there was something wrong with her and screamed at him, and he forgot his and told me.
Oh, he forgot he had pills.
No, he had already had him crushed on the toilet. And anyways, I screamed at him, and he told me, "Stop yelling! You're gonna wake Olivia." And he fell for a heartbeat, and that's when I went and done mine, but he didn't know that. And later on, I was yelling at him to call the ambulance, and he told me to go get mine. He thought he done his. He didn't. I scared him that bad. He ran off and thought it was mine. He thought he already did his. I was like, I already did. Oh, and he took off back there. He didn't want it on the toilet when everybody showed up.
Jeez.
It kind of, it really messes with me because in that moment, I didn't necessarily know. A part of me was like, she's okay. A part of me was like, no, she's not. But she wasn't okay. And I still V-lined for the bathroom like it was no thing. Messed with my head. That was the first time Jordan told me she had a heartbeat, so I was like, maybe I'm just overreacting. But no, I went and picked her up and it was overreacting.
And that concludes our 3-part episode on all the many different versions of the story that Eva Millard told for the events that occurred on November 8th, 2018. And I will see you all on next week's episode where we start diving into the evidence from November 8th, 2018.